Hi everybody, I'm Jennifer Tryon, and today I'm using the Shape Creator from Threaders. This is a very cool tool for anyone who's into traditional cutting, but with modern ease. Okay, I'm gonna show you how it works. We're gonna be cutting strips, bias strips, squares, circles, triangles, diamonds, hexagons, you name it. All right, let's start by cutting some fabric strips. On the back of your Shape Creator packaging are all of the instructions, but you can follow along here too. So I'm just taking a fat quarter or whatever size fabric you're using. You're gonna fold it over selvage to selvage, and then that folded edge, bring that over so it meets the selvage. And now let's line this up on our mat. And now the way this Shape Creator works is it's got all of these lines on the mat. 0 all the way over to 16 inches and then 0 to 12 inches. And you'll see all of these diamonds on the bottom. What these diamonds are for is it gives your rotary cutter a little wiggle room, just a little extra space to get inside these pre-cut lines. So now all we need to do is line up our lines on the shape cutter with the lines on our mat. And what I love about this versus cutting with a regular ruler is that this has a 0 line, which means you can cut off your selvage and then keep going without ever having to move your ruler. So I'm gonna stand up just to give myself a little more arm strength. And then at the 0 mark, I'm gonna go ahead. That's gonna cut off the selvage, but don't move anything. The idea here is that your ruler doesn't have to move at all. You can finish cutting your whole width of fabric without having to stop and remeasure, just by counting over the number of inches you want your strip to be. So if I want it to be 2.5, 1, 2.5, I put my rotary cutter in through that diamond, and now it's gonna lie perfectly, and I can cut without having to move my ruler. And I'll just keep counting over every 2.5 inches. Don't move anything. I love that you can even bring your rotary cutter back because it's all trapped in that channel, nice and safe. Very precise. Okay, so now that it's all cut up, you can move your shape cutter and the selvage comes off, and there are all your perfect strips. Much faster than having to replace your ruler every single time. Okay, how about some squares? So for squares, I like to use my rotating mat from Threaders, but you can use a regular cutting mat too. So to cut a square, you basically just start with a long fabric strip and then just fold it over. And you can go multiple layers at once, however many your rotary cutter will cut. So I'm just making sure at least one of the lines on my mat is running exactly along the 0 line on my shape cutter. Starting at the 0 line allows me to cut off any uneven edge at the very beginning without cutting into my final piece. And now if I want a 5-inch square, I can just count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and cut right up the 5-inch channel. And now I'm going to rotate my mat, and I'm gonna go ahead and line up my 0 line. I'm gonna cut off the selvage, and I'm gonna count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up the channel, and then count over another 5. And up the channel. And now you can see I'm left with my 5-inch squares. Perfectly cut and perfectly measured. So now that we have the squares cut, it's a perfect time to show you that the Shape Creator, even though it's got all of these lines, is actually perfect for cutting circles. You'll see in each corner, there's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and 4 inch. Let's try a 4-inch circle. So for that, I'm gonna take one of those squares that I cut, and I'm gonna fold it in quarters. Fold it in half, and then fold it in half again. And then you're just gonna follow along. And now you pull it out, and what you're left with is a perfect 4-inch circle. Just give it a little press, and those fold marks will come right out. It's a very easy way to make circles with a rotary cutter. What I also love this ruler for is sewing bias strips. So you can take any size rectangle, but most often when we're sewing binding, we want to use a full meter or yard of fabric. So I'm going to show you how to fold it. You're going to fold the top left corner down toward the bottom right, but it's not going to make it the whole way there. The 45-degree angle is going to stop and leave you a little bit of extra. Okay, once it's nice and flat, you're gonna take your bottom left corner and bring it all the way up to the top right. And again, don't worry about that strip. hanging off the side. Then you're going to do the same thing again, bringing this left corner up to the top right. Hats off to whoever first discovered this fold. Then you're going to turn it on its side so that the pointy end goes off to the right and you've got all of the folds along your left-hand side. Now I can bring in my shape cutter. So I'm just lining up the 0 over that folded edge. And then for a 2-inch binding, I'm just measuring over 2. 1, 2. And then go over 2 more. And because my fabric is a little bit larger, I'm just sliding, I can see the channel, sliding that right up so it stays flush. Putting my rotary cutter right back in the channel and finishing off the rest of the fabric. What's so cool is that you now no longer have to make sure that the numbers and lines on your ruler and your mat coordinate. You just need to pay attention to the lines on the shape cutter. Okay, let's see what we've got. Wow, look at this. All of these super long, stretchy bias strips. See, cutting on the bias allows even a woven fabric to maintain a certain amount of stretch. You'll be surprised how much stretch there actually is, which makes it really great for doing quilt bindings or anything where you want to make your strip take a curve. Well, that made that job easy. Okay, let's cut some diamonds next. Okay, so I'm just using a fat quarter here, and just like we prepped the fabric for when we were cutting strips, that's exactly what we're gonna do for diamonds. Fold it over, selvage to selvage, and then in half again, so the fold meets the selvage. And now there are 2 kinds of diamonds we can cut, either a 45-degree angle diamond or a 60-degree. Let's start with the 45. So now that it's folded, I can turn it over, just following the directions first for the strips. So let's do 3-inch strips. So I'm just lining up my folded fabric with the horizontal line on my mat and making sure my shape creator, the 0 line, is also flush with a horizontal line on the mat. Then I know everything's gonna be straight. And then after that, I can basically ignore the lines and numbers on my cutting mat and just pay attention to the channels on the shape creator. So once I've got my strip, I'm gonna line it up with the 45-degree angle on the mat. So because the strip is 3 inches, I need to cut over in 3-inch increments. So from the tip of your strip, that's where you can line up your 0 line, and let's measure over 3. 1, 2, 3. And then over another 3 to the 6. And then another 3 to the 9. And another 3 to the 12. And let's see. Now we've got our 45-degree diamonds. And now you can also do a 60-degree diamond. So once you've got your strip on your 60-degree line, then you're gonna turn your shape creator so it's running vertically and that the vertical lines and the horizontal lines on the mat now line up. And then you're gonna go across in your same inch increment as the size of your strip. So in this case, it's 3 inches. So my 0 line is gonna start right at the end of my strip, and I can cut over. And you can see now I'm left with my 60-degree diamonds. And we can take this a step further and turn these into hexagons. So once you've made a diamond, line up the longest points of the diamond on the horizontal line. And because I've cut this 3 inches, cut off half of your measurement, so that would be 1.5 for 3 inches, off either end. So line up my 0 with the tip and measure over 1.5. And then 1.5 from the other end. And then what you're left with are hexagons. So we've cut hexagons, diamonds, strips, both regular and on the bias. We've cut circles and squares. The shape creator really is a modern take on the old traditional rotary cutting. And what I love about it is not having to move your ruler and your fabric every time you want to change a measurement. That's how you're going to have nice, accurate cuts.